everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Your Manchester with me, Miss Belinda Scandal. On the show today, we're looking at a village that just seems to have ceased to exist. We're also talking about a comedian, the first comedian to have her own show at the Opera House. Oh yes, and if that's not enough, we're looking at the launch of Lizzie. This is how your show's looking. In 1892, Lizzie Borden was accused of two fantastical murders. Now then, how are the people at Hope Mill Theatre going to turn this into a musical? And how the heck are they going to portray sex, rage and bloody murder on the stage? Let's find out. Here we are, we're outside the Hope Mill Theatre. We have just seen a sneak rehearsal performance of this magical musical coming to Hope Mill from the 1st to the 30th of September. It's called Lizzie, and it is amazing. Joining us now are two of the cast members. Introduce yourself.
I'm Maya Quantza-Breed and I'm playing Alice.
And my name is Lauren Drew and I'm playing Lizzie Borden.
Now, Lizzie Borden, what a story.
I know, right?
Steeped in folklore, because she actually got, well, I mean, we can give this spoiler away, there's plenty of history. She got acquitted.
She did.
Now, what's the story behind it then?
Oh my goodness, there's a massive story behind it. Our interpretation is ever so slightly different. I think it changes depending on every movie you see. There's always slight little changes. But Lizzie Borden was someone that existed back in the 1800s, and she was accused of the murder of her parents, and she murdered them in the most gruesome way possible, which was with an axe. At that time, I don't think they could possibly fathom that could be done by a woman. And eventually she ended up getting off free, and there's not necessarily anything that we very much in our production, she's guilty in our production of Lizzie.
I mean, what is it all about? I mean, it's fascinating, isn't it?
It is fascinating, and I think what is really fascinating is the fact that we are trying to get into the mindset of a woman back in that time, and in the 1800s, how she would have had to have presented herself as opposed to how she was actually feeling. And in our production, we look into her psyche and how she was experiencing a lot of problems, a lot of sexual abuse, and there was a lot of judgment, and we have to kind of delve into those dark moments to be able to justify her murdering her parents with an axe, because obviously we're not pro-murder, but you want to be on Lizzie's side at the end of the day.
And we should say we're talking 1892, a totally different era. So if a woman was going through that, I mean, there was a lot of oppression, wasn't there, for women?
We've come so far in society, but yet we're not actually that far away in terms of oppression on women and queer people, and we've not actually come that far. But thinking back to that time, the resources in terms of like how she would have been treated, the police, how she would have how she was viewed, how she had to present herself to be this meek lady who couldn't swivel an axe. No. So it is, but like I say, we haven't come all that far either, which is what's good, what's bad.
So tell us about your characters then. Who are you playing?
I'm playing Lizzie Borden, axe murderer extraordinaire.
So you've got the whole of this on your shoulder then, really, haven't you?
Yeah, it's amazing though, because I mean, like, we've got it's kind of like 4 leading ladies in the cast, isn't it? Like, we're all supporting each other, and I think without one character, the whole thing would fall flat.
And strangely enough, it's already being compared to 6.
Yeah.
So it's going to do well then, isn't it? Why do you think there is such a fascination still to this day with Lizzie?
It's the dark rage, the seeing what women are capable of when they put their mind to it, and that she got acquitted for something that's so, like, in a word, like, heinous.
Yeah.
Like, how she managed to get away with that, and what techniques did she use, darling?
And let's get to the bare bones of this show then. It's a musical. Now, normally you'd think of musicals being all frilly and happy. Obviously, with this kind of story that's in this, it's not going to be all frilly and happy. What are people going to be invited to see on the stage?
There's a mixture. We definitely play about with tones so that it's a more manageable watch. So yes, the undertones are quite dark, but there are moments of light relief which keep us kind of all balanced. But it's dark, it's humorous, it's punchy, it's fun, it's energetic, and it's just, I'm really excited to get this out into the world and for everyone to see the show, because I really think people will connect with these characters. It's a very exciting time.
And when you're playing Lizzie, how are you dealing with the fact that obviously she did bad things, but obviously you want to portray this character fairly?
Yeah, for sure, and I think that's what's important. We have to kind of be able to justify her actions, so we do have to delve into those really dark moments, which again, as an actor, is quite tricky to do, because you really want to hit those tones correctly. But again, we're trying to justify her behaviour. So I'm actually thoroughly enjoying it. It's really fun because we're playing in kind of worlds with Lizzie and with all of the characters. We're playing in the kind of period world, how things are presented, as opposed to the dark kind of mental aspect of things, where if you can imagine something like Stranger Things, when they go into the upside down, we're kind of using that as our preference right now in terms of how the switch happens, and we're very rocky. The score is very rocky, rock, punk, pop, and it reflects in the costumes as well.
So I suppose I should ask then, people are already buying tickets for this. I think obviously it's at Home Mill, so it will be a sold out event. But for those that haven't got tickets yet, and because they can see it further afield as well once it's finished here, why should people come and watch this?
Because it's going to be unreal.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, Lauren, you've been saying it for so long since we all got that group chat. You have been like, this is one to watch. It's going to be incredible. Just like the music, the story, just everything about it is just going to be such a hit. It's just, it is epic. Like everything about it. Like I can't wait to get it out there. And it's been so lovely to do it for you today that we've had an audience and had like a really nice reception.
Yeah.
So then we know how where we're pushing it to.
Well, for me, it's been one of them press launch days that you go to, and instantly I feel it's going to be a hit. Instantly, I know it's going to be successful. But there's a magic there already, isn't there?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think we have a luxury of it being quite a small cast, so we're very lucky to be able to establish our relationships, work on the chemistry, and we're very fortunate that everyone just clicks so well. And I think that is very important when you watch a show, and I think you can always tell that.
Yeah, you're also doing our show over at Manchester Pride as well.
We are.
Which I am very excited about sharing this musical with everybody. That's obviously on the 27th of August. I think you're on around about 4 o'clock-ish. It's going to be amazing. In perhaps just one word, sum up this musical.
Like electric.
Electric.
Yeah, you're right. I would say a smash hit. That's 2 words.
We can hyphenate it. We can
smash
hyphenate
hit.
it. Thank you so much for your time today. Make sure you check out Hope Mill Theatre 1st to the 30th of September. It is going to be electric and a smash hit. Did you know there's a hidden gem just 4 miles away from Colne? This village has remained abandoned for time and is now a beautiful place to go and visit and have a little saunter around. We've sent 2-minute heroes to tell us more about it.
The historic village of Wycoller lies 4 miles east of Colne near Trawden in Lancashire. The village forms part of the Wycoller Country Park and lies in a valley known as Wycoller Dean. Wycoller Beck flows down the valley and through the village. The name Wycoller comes from the Anglo-Saxon Wycoller, meaning the dairy farm among the alder trees. You arrive in the village following a 15-minute walk from the car park to find the first of Wycoller's bridges. The 15th century Packhorse Bridge is a substantial twin-arch bridge. It is sometimes referred to as Sally's Bridge, after Sally Owen, mother of Wycoller's last squire. Wycoller's bridges were all built in different centuries, using different construction techniques, and cross Wycoller Beck. The oldest bridge, the Clam Bridge, is listed as an ancient monument. It is a simple bridge, just a single slab laid across the beck. The bridge is thought to possibly date back as far as the Neolithic period. The Clapper Bridge is also an ancient monument that was built in the 18th and early 19th century. It is formed of 3 stone slabs sitting on 2 piers. The bridge had grooves in it formed by the weaver's clogs that were apparently chiselled flat by a farmer whose daughter fell and was fatally injured on the bridge. It is also known as Weaver's Bridge or Hall Bridge. Wycoller Beck is fed from 2 smaller cloughs, Smithy Clough and Turnhole Clough, that channel rainfall from the surrounding hills and moors. The cloughs join east of the village, the larger beck flowing down the narrow valley through the village and onto Colne Water, which eventually joins the River Calder in Burnley. The Trawden Forest area has specialised in cattle and sheep rearing for hundreds and possibly thousands of years. In the 14th century, part of the Trodden Forest area was divided into 5 large farm estates, known as vaccaries. The stone fence walls above the village are evidence of the vaccary farm system. The vaccary walls here are built in straight lines and constructed from large upright millstone grit slabs, with their lower sections sunk into the ground. It is thought that the walls were deliberately built with gaps to allow sheep to pass from field to field, but not cows. Wycoller Hall was built originally by the Hartley family in 1550 and extended in the late 18th century by then owner Squire Henry Cunliffe. Allegedly a keen gambler, Cunliffe borrowed money against Wycoller Hall to fund the building work. He died heavily in debt in 1818, and following his death, stones from the hall were plundered to build nearby houses and other structures. The hall later fell into ruin and is reputed to be haunted. The 16th century hall is believed to have been the inspiration for Ferndean Manor in Charlotte Bronte's novel Jane Eyre. The Bronte family lived at the parsonage in Haworth, just 10 miles away, and Charlotte would have passed through here on her way to Gawthorpe Hall in Burnley when she went to stay with the Kay Shuttleworth family. Charlotte's description of Ferndean Manor when approached from the old coach road fits Wycoller Hall quite closely. By the late 18th century, many of the villagers were working as home-based handloom spinners and weavers. In the 19th century, the development of the power loom and the factory system led to the village's economic decline. By 1871, all the weavers had moved to nearby towns to work in the mills. Over 35 houses were abandoned and fell into ruin, and by 1896 the majority of the villagers had moved away from the village and it was virtually deserted. In the 20th century, the village houses were modernised. Wycoller Country Park today is one of the prettiest country parks in Lancashire, a haven for historians, ideal for walkers and a great place to come and explore. Why not come and see for yourself?
Now, there's a comedian I've had my eye on for a while. She's called Rachel Fairburn, and she's worked her way up through the ranks, so much so that she's got her own show coming to the Opera House. But what makes that show so special is that she's the first female comedian to have her own show at the Opera House for years. I spoke to her earlier last week to find out more. Tell us all about it.
Well, it's my biggest tour yet, and it's 30 odd dates around the UK. Basically, I'm trying to answer the question, how did you get into comedy? Because a lot of people ask me, and people ask me in different ways. It depends who's asking me, so I explore that a little bit. But I do touch on the fact that I used to be very, very shy and a very sort of insular, quiet person, especially when I was a kid. Oh, God, I barely spoke. And now I'm a stand-up comedian, so we sort of look at that a little bit.
So there's been the focus into your journey into comedy. How did it begin for you, and why comedy? It's a risky business, isn't it?
Well, I've 2 things, and I'll talk about this in the show. 2 things that I've always been interested in: horror and comedy. Love horror movies, love anything spooky, anything scary, anything supernatural, and love laughing. So 2 things that have always been a mainstay throughout my life. But when I was very small, I used to sort of do little, because I was so shy apart from within my immediate family. I used to do little, you'd be like, oh, be in the living room at 10:30, I'm doing a show. And you'd do a little show for your family, that kind of thing. And I used to do that. And I used to write sort of funny stories for my mum to entertain her, because mum's got a great sense of humour. So if my mum laughs at something, it's good. And my mum used to say, you're very shy. If you did stand up, and I just think, is this woman insane? Because that's the worst thing I couldn't imagine doing. And I did a course on stand-up comedy. I saw an advert in the paper once, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I did it, and then that was it. I just, as shy as I was and as insular as I was, I just started doing stand-up, and it changed everything.
The other side of the coin, we've got your connection with Miss Victoria Wood and Patrick Kilter, all these fantastic comedians. Perhaps first of all, talk about your connection. What is the connection between you and Miss Victoria Wood?
Well, very exciting. I am the first female comedian since Victoria Wood to play Manchester Opera. First female Mancunian comedian to play Manchester Opera House since Victoria Wood, which says to me we need to get more female Mancunian comedians on the stage. That's what I think.
Oh, there's only a few that can do it.
Well, you never know. That's the other thing. But yeah, very excited about that. That's the connection. So yeah, when I do Manchester Opera House on the 9th of September, I'll be very much thinking of the last female Mancunian comedian to do it was Victoria Wood. So pressure's on.
As much as people call it stand-up comedy, it is one heck of a monologue, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, and this is it. You know, you write something yourself. You've done all the work yourself. You rely on yourself, and then when I come to have to learn my show, I'm like, oh God, I can't learn this. I don't know it. It would be so easy to give it someone else to do. I'd love that. Write it and then go, you do it. You perform.
You could do what Joan Rivers do and have it on the stage and big placards on the floor.
I mean, she did, didn't she? She used to have everything on the floor, but so bang, 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 so quick. Yeah.
A lot of shows that are coming that I've been to the Opera House and Palace Theatre in Manchester, that they've required no interaction. What about hecklers? Are people joining in? A lot of comedians like that. A lot of comedians don't. What's your thoughts?
Well, it's strange because I don't mind, you know, when it's your own show, people tend to be like, well, we've come to see you, so we want to just see the show. But what I'm going to do is I come out now before the show to introduce the support act, so you can have a little bit of interaction, a little bit of chat, talk about where you are. If anyone wants to butt in, they can butt in. Then, you know, have a little bit of a conflab with them. But then once the show starts, it's like, shut up now. You're going to have to listen to this.
That's very Carol Burnett. So you're taking upon the greats there, because they used to, all the things that the tools that you're mentioning have been used by the greats. You know, you mentioned it being a journey, but where do you want to be in, say, 5, 10 years? What would be the ultimate for you?
Oh, well, I don't know. So this is the strange thing. When people go, oh, what do you see yourself doing? I sometimes can't believe that I'm doing the job that I want to do. My aim when I started doing comedy was I want to leave my rubbish job and I want to become self-employed as a stand-up comedian. And I've done it. And I'm like, I've done it. I don't have to go to shit jobs anymore. I'm just happy, you know. So but also I very much go with the flow. So I'm like, I'd love to do that. I'd love to be on this. Oh, I'd love to do this TV show or whatever. But I don't ever sort of feel bitter that I'm not doing it, if that makes sense. You know, I always think opportunities will come along. Let's roll with it. Let's see what happens. But as long as I'm doing shows, creating stuff, getting out there and gigging, I'm happy.
That's amazing. Now, this, like you say, is coming to the Opera House on the 9th of September. I ask everybody this when I do an interview: why should people come and watch this show? If you want to just have a laugh and a good night out, come and watch. You know, there'll be a bit of banter at the beginning, there's a support act, and then there's a show of an hour and a bit. And we're in a cost of living crisis. I appreciate every single person that's bought a ticket. If you buy a ticket, you will have a good laugh. Excellent. Rachel, thank you so much for your time. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Your Manchester. Join us next week as in studio will be Hayley Cartwright and Mark Llewellyn as we discuss all the things leading up to Pride. It's going to be a marvellous episode. Make sure you tell all your friends to like and subscribe our channel. Till then, thanks for watching this week's episode of Your Manchester. I suppose I should get back in the bar.